Welcome to Libertarian Counterpoint. I am James Just, your host. With me today is Leon Brathwaite from the Knuckleheads of Liberty, and an author and compatriot here on Libertarian Counterpoint, John Cameron. And John, I almost forgot your name right there. We're going to do things a little bit different today. Normally we sit here, we talk about topics, but tonight we're going to have a discussion about inside the Libertarian Party baseball a little bit. Here in Sacramento, the convention for the California Libertarian Party will be here on the 17th through the 19th, I believe is the dates. And there has been discussion in here of this local community that there needs to be new leadership, and some have asked me to consider it. And after some consideration and discussion, I have decided it's likely not going to happen. It's not something I'm all that interested in, but we will find out why people think it would be a good idea for me to do it, to run for office and to run for state chair, and why it's needed, what the problems are the party is currently facing, and what can be done about it, if anything. So John, our fellow co-host, Richard, can't be here today because of technology issues, but he did send us a statement, if you want to kind of read it or paraphrase it.
Okay, well, folks, Richard Fields, tall, looks like Lurch. No, he doesn't look like Lurch. He's my best friend. He's the one that kind of got the whole ball rolling with Libertarian Counterpoint back when it was Libertarian Conspiracy. And I think this is now the longest running Libertarian show in the country, I believe. Richard Fields is a good friend, and he's been a good Libertarian and a good father. And I'm not gonna. He paid me. He didn't pay me enough to go on about him. And I'm kidding. He's a good thinker, and so he has some thoughts on the future of the LP. And so I'm basically just gonna kind of read his press statement here. Thoughts on the future of the LP. The root word of libertarian is liberty, and that has been the reason for the need for a Libertarian Party. All other parties, major and minor, are or have been either about the desire for control of others or the desire for security. A secure society and a free society are at odds with each other. You can't. I'm going to throw in my own paraphrase here. You can't have freedom and safety. It's just not possible. Liberty requires tolerance. To the extent that the new LP management opposes wokeism, the party becomes more intolerant. People who believe in liberty will never be a part of a party where they are not tolerated. Libertarians could never offer security, either the faux security offered by the military or by police state domestically, or faux economic security. By yielding to libertarians who want more control over others, the party betrays its underlying principles. And Richard says, maybe you should run for state chair.
Yeah, everybody keeps trying to get me to run for state chair.
Well, why not, though, James? Why not? We know the Libertarian Party in California is in deep trouble.
Yes, it is.
You agree with that?
We've got this on your screen.
And look at the screen right there.
Yeah, the membership
declining.
Is declining and precipitously declining in the last year and a half.
Very well. So we need someone in there to shake things up. Whatever is going on now cannot continue. Because if we're going to hit our head against the same wall, we're going to end up with the same headache. And then we're going to be complaining about what and to whom. So why not? Why not? Why you should not run? Why shouldn't you get in there and try to shake things up? You have had experience dealing with the Libertarian Party here locally in Sacramento County. Why not take it to the next step? Why not do some good for the Libertarian Party? And I told you this story before, and I want to say it again because so people understand why I'm saying these things. I went to the polls on election day. I think it was November 8th or whenever the hell it was. And I look on the entire ballot, and I could not see a single Libertarian candidate to vote for. I know there are problems with third party candidates. But if we don't start a fight at some place, at some point, then what will change?
Well, that word there, fight, actually brings up a good reason why I shouldn't be chair, because I'm not a fighter. I'm a worker, and I'm a helper. And in a sense, that's why people think I should be chair. But at the moment, the party wants to fight. The activist crowd, and let's remember who actually runs the party. The party is run by people who are ideologues. They're activists. And the people who I tend to represent are people who sit outside that. They're registered libertarians or people who vote libertarian but are not party members. And so my constituency, the people who I tend to represent, are not the people who show up at conventions because they're not dues-paying members. And so there's a separation there between what average people think, like, conservatarians like yourself, like libertarians like John, and people like me. When I ran for office, I ran under the concept that libertarian is love. It's fundamentally love. You are a libertarian because I am a libertarian because I love my fellow human beings. And I know that I cannot, because I love them, I know I cannot control them. They cannot thrive if me or somebody like me is sitting there telling them what to do, telling them how to live their lives, dictating their education, dictating their work environment, dictating, right? I know. So I ran on the concept that libertarian is love. That was my stump speech, essentially.
Are you talking about when you ran for local office?
When I ran for state assembly.
State assembly, okay, yeah.
But it wasn't a campaign issue. It was fundamental. It wasn't a campaign strategy. It was a fundamental truth. And that's why it worked. That's why people believed it. And so when I come into the new LP, what we're calling the new LP, which is same boss is pretty much, the new boss is pretty much the same as the old boss. Tone is a little different, but not enough to cause a distinction. The real problem that LP is facing is they don't try to represent anybody but dues-paying members, the activist class. That's who they view they represent. And until they are prepared, the activist class is prepared to represent the wider libertarian audience, the libertarian voter, the registered libertarian person, we are not going to grow. And my strengths are talking to people, is having the conversations with people, communicating with the public. My strengths are not in the administration. And currently, the way the LP is working, the chair is essentially an administrator. And so in order for me to be successful as a chair, we would have to change the way the LP operates. I work as a team. The reason LP here locally works is because I count on the team. I don't do the administrative tasks. I have a treasurer, a secretary, and a vice chair who takes care of the administrative tasks for me. I oversee them. I watch what they're doing.
Why would that change if you become a state chair? Why would that change?
Because that's not how the state currently operates.
Well, then a leader will make it happen.
But you can't. The leader can't do it by himself.
Well,
you need
fine.
you need the activist class to accept that they are the problem, and accept that they need to change, and vote in that change. And the reality is, the 150, 200 people that show up at the convention are not the people who are going to vote for that kind of change. Until those activist class, until they are ready, until they accept that they are the problem, we cannot change. The party is not able to change. And in a sense, the reason I should run and the reasons I shouldn't run are essentially the same. It's because I'm not the administrator.
Can I ask some questions?
Sure.
So I think I'm not in the party. I joined some things, but I haven't joined the Libertarian Party because I've never, the idea that the liberty is love. That's why I like James so much, because at the end of every show, except for maybe today, I don't know what you didn't get to love everybody in there.
He did.
You did?
Yes, he did.
And next week's show, I got it in there.
I apologize. Yeah. So the idea that if you love your fellow man, you don't try to impose your will on them, and you want them to have as much freedom as they possibly can, with a couple caveats. Don't hurt people, don't take their stuff, or James distilled it down during one of our previous shows, don't hurt people. So that platform doesn't resonate in the political arena now, because I don't think it's been spelled out as to what it means. It sounds like a nebulous idea that will never work. But it can be demonstrated by love your man, love your fellow man, by getting the government off his back so that he can or she can braid hair if she wants to without having to go through more training than an EMT.
Yes.
And it can be translated into a platform that works and resonates with people, especially, Libertarian Party has kind of the reputation of being the party of rich old white guys. The people that that benefit most from libertarian concepts are the people on the bottom rung of the economic ladder. They're the new immigrants who face all these rules and regulations, barriers, and everything else. So I think the idea of libertarianism as love, if it's spelled out what that love means, is wonderful. And I think that would get, because you can elucidate, you can communicate those ideas. That's I've seen some people in the Libertarian Party, and I'm not going to name names mostly because I can't remember them. I kind of do a mind wipe on people that annoy me. They were arguing about things that were basically as useless as the cardinals of old in the Catholic Church arguing about how many angels could dance on the head of a pin. They're arguing about stuff that will never take place in this universe. The elimination of all government, and that's what we stand for. It's, let's eliminate some government.
Yeah.
Let's get some freedom,
Well,
and then let's show what people go. So when you have fire-breathing radicals, that's what's wrong with the Republican and Democratic Party. They have the radicals on both sides are running the parties.
Yes.
And nobody in this country, a very small minority, maybe 10% of this country, 5 and 5 on either side, wants the party platforms that the radicals are imposing on the country. And I don't think the majority of libertarians want, fire-breathing rhetoric and all this infighting and all the rest of that. They want a looser country. They want a looser state. They want less government. They want more love and all the rest of that. And that's what you represent. So
Exactly.
I'm not saying, I want you to do it, because I don't want you to do something you don't want to do. Because if you're not...
I'm saying I want him to do it.
Yeah.
I'm saying, just to be clear.
Yeah. Well, the problem with something like that is it's really hard, I think, for someone who is a libertarian at heart to want to be the head of any political organization, because it's the antithesis of being a libertarian. So, I'm going to be the head of an organization that's political in nature when I hate the idea of imposing my will on other people. So, I understand why you don't want to do it. You'd have to do it from a really deep-rooted sense of love, which we all know you have. You have love for your fellow man to a greater degree than I do. I think some of them are scum, but especially politicians.
I love even the scum.
Yeah.
I even love the scum.
Well, you can love people while you put them in prison.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Because you love it. Because you love the rest of society just as much.
The biggest act of love. So, as I've watched the Libertarian parties everywhere, they haven't delivered a message to the masses that the masses can understand. Oh, libertarians are crazy. Oh, wait a second. Libertarians want me to be able to start a machine shop even though I'm a felon? Yeah.
Well, it's not that
I can do that.
It's not that they haven't been explained. It's that it's not believed. And you know why it's not believed? Is because we sit there and we say most people are libertarian in philosophy, right? We sit there and we tell people that, but then when people join the party, we tell them you're not libertarian enough. So what is it?
Well,
are most people libertarians, or are people who are already in the Libertarian Party not libertarian enough?
No,
We're telling
James,
two different stories to the public, and then we're expecting them to believe us.
That's
No,
why you
no,
never
understood.
have two libertarians speak
Yeah.
at any place. You have one speak. Yeah.
Obviously, James, you are describing a serious communication problem within the Libertarian Party. You're obviously describing that. So the issue, to me, for a leader, is to fix that problem. Now, yeah, we're up here with our principles and philosophies, okay? We love life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. That's the libertarian philosophy up here. What a leader has to do, and what I think you could do, is to show the masses how that could come into practice, how that could be a part of their daily life, how that could make them into better human beings, into better citizens of the United States, of these great United States. That is what a leader needs to do in the Libertarian Party. We don't have that now. We don't. And that's why the Libertarian Party is this little tiny party which nobody seemed to ever hear about, that I'm a half libertarian. I wouldn't call me a full libertarian because I do have other beliefs that are a little bit different from some of the libertarians.
Well, you should fit under the libertarian umbrella, and the reality is you don't feel comfortable because of it. The issue is not relevant because of a singular issue, but you should feel comfortable under the libertarian umbrella, even with that distinction.
Well, I'm persuadable, James. I am persuadable. So that's what a leader needs to do.
Yeah.
Make me believe what you just said.
Well, if in the Republican and Democratic parties, the radicals, and I call them the Republicrats or the Democrats because they're exactly the same to me. They're the duopoly. The radicals control and manage to keep all those other people in line because they're the Gestapo. But with the Libertarian Party, it should be the only way the Libertarian Party is ever going to be anything other than a chuckle or a chortle or people laughing about it never amount to anything. When basically most of the people in this country have a big chunk of their personal philosophy that's libertarian in nature, whether they're declared Republicans or Democrats or even socialists. I don't know about communists. That's an evil that I don't know. I don't know if they have good in them. It's got to be communicated, and maybe it's leadership from a different place. Leadership doesn't have to be autocratic. Leadership doesn't have to be. Excuse me, folks. I just dropped one of my warm gloves. Leadership doesn't have to be command control leadership. Right. You can lead by I think Mahatma Gandhi was not a command and control kind of guy. He led. Was one of the most recent saints that served the poorest of the poor in India. Led from a place of love.
You know about Mother Teresa?
Yeah. So leadership doesn't have to be autocratic. It doesn't have to be command and control. And the best leaders, there are some great leaders who were that way. I mean, Stephen Jobs was a great leader. He was the son of a gun, a workaholic, a lunatic, and I don't know whether cancer consumed him or he consumed cancer. But that doesn't have to be the leadership style that works. And that great leaders have people to do the stuff that is command and control for them. So, that's why here in Sacramento what do you have? You have a treasurer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What else do you have?
I have the treasurer, the vice chair, and the secretary take care of the administrative tasks for me, so I can deal with what I'm good at.
You can find somebody. So, you can find somebody to do that.
So, and you're stating your premise is that the state party would never go along with that because the people in power love their power and wouldn't give it up. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying they don't know how to operate. We are culturally broken. They don't know how to operate as a team.
Yeah.
We are so culturally broken at this point. And I don't even know another word to describe it. That teamwork, they would much rather snipe and pick at each other and win some minor, feel like they've won some minor victory in an email thread or on a Twitter fight than actually do work. They are so interested in fighting that they're not willing to do work. They're not willing to help. And am I willing to have that fight? And I'm not a fighter. I'm a worker and I'm a helper. I'm here to help. If people want me to help, I'm glad to help. I will do anything I can to help. But I don't think the activist class is prepared to accept the responsibility for what they have created, for the mess they have created. And it's not just the last year and a half. It's not the new bit. There is no takeover if there is a functional leadership. So you can't just blame the takeover.
Isn't this kind of central fire-breathing, this is libertarianism happening at the national level as well,
yes.
Not just the state of California?
The
so
numbers,
you have what's happened to the Republicans, so that means that the Libertarian Party is sinking to the same lows as the Democrats and the Republicans.
Yes, we are not.
But we sinking from lower numbers, though.
Yeah, lower numbers. Right,
yeah. Right, so
well, the other thing I want to look at from these numbers is, to me, they look a little cyclical too. So, I've never received anything, heard anything, or seen anything that we all do. You guys all know what WIFM means, right? What's in it for me? Why should I, even outside the Libertarian Party, if I'm so disgusted with the left and so disgusted with the right, why should I consider supporting the Libertarian Party? Because I don't really know what they represent. It's just this fuzzy concept out there. Does the California Party have a sales pitch to the common man and woman in the state about how their lives will be better, how their children will be better, how their parents will be better, how their future will be better if they support the Libertarian Party's platform? Is there a platform there that I missed somewhere?
They don't have anything out there. Seriously, that's substantial, right, James?
They have a platform, but platforms are activist documents. They're not meant for popular distribution. You know what I call party platforms? I call them activist porn because that's all they're good for.
Well, no,
That's it. The public doesn't care.
Here's what I'd like you to do when you become the chair, or as you become the chair, is run on not activist porn, but run on how the love that libertarians have for their fellow men, because men and women, their fellow humans, because we want to give them the freedom, and we believe they have the capacity to live their lives in a way that's just and free and productive by leaving them alone. You can fill in the word before alone. And I think that's if you work together with some, I think Richard would just love to help you with that.
You guys are killing me.
A platform of this is what life could be like if you would start electing some libertarian folks to school boards and to the assembly and to board of supervisors and all the rest of that. And the only way we can do that is we get people like you to join and pay dues so that we can run ads and all the rest of that. And has to spell it start from the bottom and start scraping your way up.
Sure.
I mean, remove the people who would benefit most from liberty are the people in some of your neighbors, basically.
Yes.
It's not, your area's getting pretty gentrified, but still a lot of your neighbors, right? and they benefit because all the barriers to earning a living that are in their way. They can't afford to pay a $10,000 bond, I mean,
the culture.
But the fight has to start
somewhere and at some time.
But we can't we can't tell the public that we support them and we love them and we want to, and we are there for them, if they don't believe it. And they're not going to believe it because we're mean to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
we're not even nice to ourselves.
James,
instead of ideologues should be the North Star, right? Ideologues have a place. The ideologues, the hardcore activists, they actually do have a place, right? They are the North Star. They are
as long as it's not around me.
They are what keeps us, they're like the North Star. So when you're sailing, right, you can't sail into the wind. You have to tack, right? You have to go back and forth. Right? And so politics is the same way.
No, motor. I got a motor, man. No,
yeah, we don't get motors. We're not big enough for a motor. So there's not enough of us to row. We got to tack, we got to sail. And so we, as we go left and right, we need that North Star to be our guidepost. But that can't be, we're not compromising on our principles, we're compromising towards our principles. And as long as we have the activist class, and I'm going to hammer them because they are the problem, as long as that activist class is controlling the party, is not willing to have a representative mindset, we're not going to get anywhere. Because they only represent themselves. They're not representing the voting registered libertarians. They're not representing, I mean, who am I going to represent? The 50, 100 people who are dues-paying members here in Sacramento County? Am I going to represent the 11,000 registered libertarians here in Sacramento County? Or am I going to represent the 50,000 people who voted for me 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
I would say represent the 50,000. Now the question is to persuade some of the people who will be fighting against some of your leadership endeavors. Because if somebody or some team of people do not shake up what is going on in the Libertarian Party in California, in 2 years or in 3 years, I wouldn't like to see the condition of that graph behind you right there. I wouldn't like to see it. Because we're going to we'll keep on beating our head against the same wall, and we're going to end up with the same headaches.
And you know what's worse? We're losing good people.
I know that. That's why I'm talking about it.
There are good libertarians who have worked very hard who are now just fed up and just walking away. They're not making a noise. They're just quietly walking away. And that is the death of the Libertarian Party.
Well, it's the death of any party. When you have people wither away, it's the death of businesses. All of a sudden, people don't walk in and say, I loved coming to your restaurant for years, and then slowly but surely, you've done everything in your power to make me a customer of your competitor across the street, and here's what you've done wrong. People don't do that. They just they don't show up.
Right.
And so
Yes.
that's the hard thing. I wish you well on this.
I wish you well on doing. I'm not even sure I'm going to the convention. That I'm just as upset with. I'm just as disillusioned, just as unmotivated.
Where is the
as many
convention?
of the people
Here?
Yeah, Embassy Suites downtown. Yeah, it's just here. It's here in Sacramento. I'm the chair here in Sacramento. I should be excited that this event is here. It should be a thing, and we're just not. No one cares. And that is, it's one of the reasons someone like me should be trying to run for chair, but it's also one of the reasons someone like me shouldn't. Because the activist class is not ready to hear it. If I thought the activist class was actually ready to hear my message.
Here's your. I hate, since you're my friend and I like you, I hate to tell you this, but
John, I can listen. I can hear things I don't like.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna right now. Unless they, even if they kill my mic, they might not hear it, but you'll hear it. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's not a matter of they're unwilling to listen. It's a matter of, at this point, they need to be from a position of love, which is where you come from, told. You tell your kids, dabbling with, and I'm not saying this is the right thing to do, folks, but, your kids are going to experiment and they're going to do things, but when you see the trend from experimentation leaning into habit, you sit down and you have a hard and fast conversation with your children and say, just, because some of you smoked a joint or whatever, but people who smoke a lot of that stuff end up not leading productive lives. That's the kind of conversation you need to have, and it can come from a place of love, but somebody's got to have it with these folks. They need to be led into listening, and that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, well, John, an addict or an alcoholic, they need to hit rock bottom before you can help them. They have to be willing to be helped, and I'm not entirely sure.
That I don't think that's necessarily true. Not everybody's a low bottom drunk.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
There are some high top drunks.
Yes.
That not everybody needs to be under the park bench, covered in ulcers before they realize they got a drug problem.
We are out of time, gentlemen. I want to thank you for having this discussion tonight. It's been, I don't know, enlightening, if not helpful. Thank you for watching with us. We'll see you next week. Please remember to love everybody.
Been enlightening, if not helpful.
Wow.
That's one of the best things I've ever heard.